Welcome to Nestlé NestLevel Digital, a podcast where Nestlé reimagines digital transformation to the next level as the world's largest food and beverage company using the power of food innovation to enhance lives. If you're new here, we invite you to discover Nestlé through the lens of our leaders. Each episode presents valuable insights on our digital initiatives in driving growth and sustainability as we make an impact for everyone today and for generations to come.
Welcome, Suresh. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today and really dive into how digital disruption and innovation is happening at Nestlé South Asia. So thank you for coming on the pod.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you very much for having me on NestLevel. Look forward to an engaging and inspiring conversation with you.
I want to start off by asking you at a broader macro level. We're seeing so much happening with technological disruptions and innovations happening, and there's always some conversation chatter around that. If you look at the space within which Nestle operates, where have you seen the big shifts really happen in recent times?
Look, I think, Varun, every company has to make changes, adapt itself, and morph itself to the context in which the consumer is walking. And I think for me, the biggest shift is as far as the consumer is concerned. Here is a country of 1.4 billion people, a billion mobile phones, 750 million people on the internet. Fintech is here to stay. There are more than 10 billion financial transactions each month. 1.5 trillion rupees is transacted on that. The country has got one of the most sophisticated digital stacks in the world. And just about everything can be done digitally in this country, right? It applies to a certain extent to Bangladesh. It also applies to Sri Lanka because the level of digital adoption in these countries is also very high. So the consumer is driving the digital force plus that all of us are seeing. And that makes companies like Nestle adapt to it.
I want to dig deeper into that and ask you that while a lot of the disruption, which is generally spoken about, it's a lot more on the online side, the digital online space. But there's so much that's happened, especially in FMCG, in the manufacturing side of things, just innovations that have happened there. I'd love for you to talk about what Nestle has actually been doing in that space and how innovation's really driven, almost disrupted the way you look at the manufacturing side of it.
Let me put one kind of fact in front of you. I think one of the positive impacts, if at all you can call it positive, of COVID was the fact that companies had to digitally accelerate light years where they might have gone at a snail's pace for the next 10, 20 years. So what we have done as a company is really to catapult the efforts that we might have done over a decade in a span of a year or 2 years. Let me take 3 examples of it. First, we have a milks and nutrition business that involves a lot of direct contact with healthcare professionals. Now, in the past, pre-COVID, we used to deal with them on a person-to-person contact. So more than 20, 30,000 doctors across the country are met every week or twice in a week, right, by our nutrition officers and by our nutrition executives. Suddenly, it went gone in one single moment. At that time, what was the option? The option was either to stop those contacts or to convert them into a digital platform. So we converted all the doctor contacts, which were on a real-time basis, into a virtual basis. And that involved a digital transformation that might have taken us decades to do because we had done it at our own pace. We managed to do it in a matter of a few weeks. What to talk of a few months. That is the first transformation. So therefore, suddenly the stakeholder connection also became virtual. Second, our manufacturing. And I'm very proud of the fact that digital manufacturing operations is here to stay. And during COVID, actually, we commissioned our 9th factory in a place called Sanand in Gujarat. And what makes me very proud about that factory, it's ecologically the most friendly, environmentally the most friendly. It's a paperless factory. And what is more is that all the manufacturing operations are digitally monitored. So digital manufacturing operations is here to stay. And the operators, the executives, the people who work have all been digitally trained. So they are on digital platforms continuously. And that in fact makes for the fact that they are able to react in real time with speed and with accuracy as far as issues are concerned. That's a second example. Third, as a company, we have loads of data. One of the simple questions that I asked way back in 2016, 2017 to my team is, what do we do with all the data? We get so much of data. Data from our consumers, data from our shoppers, data from people. How are we aggregating it into the decision making of the company? And how are we going to access the fact that India is extremely diverse? The tapestry is diverse in terms of economy, in terms of gender, in terms of culture, in terms of food habits. Everything is different. Every 100 kilometers, there's a change of cuisine in this country. So, one of the things we did was we put forth a project which has now become a, a benchmark in our company called Midas, which is basically a multi-intelligence and data analytics system. This whole system was predicated on the platform. The data, disaggregated data, will be aggregated. Algorithms will get used, and decisions will get taken at a granular level, at the appropriate level in the organization. So everything doesn't have to come to my table. Hence, I'm able to chat with you, right? Yeah. So literally, I think empowerment, enablement, speed, decision making, flexibility has got into the system thanks to the digital connect. Consumers, as I told you, have all become digital. Yeah. So therefore, my advertising, my outreach to consumers is also largely digital. And if I were to look at Nestle in the next 10 years, we are today a brand first company. Yeah. 10 years from now, I predict that this company will be digital first and next brand company. So it's quite a radical transformation that we are seeing happening.
Do you also then see that, and I love the fact that you brought up about the consumer, right? Because the consumer has changed so much just in terms of how they transact, how they look at brand, how they interact. Do you also then see the fact that post manufacturing we actually are marketing to them and building brands for them? If they're going to be digital first in their focus, does that change how you even looking at brand innovation, how you kind of building that aspect of how to connect with the consumer of today?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question, Varun. And one of the things that we have done at Nestle is that we don't look at one single India anymore. We look at a more granular India, and using the benefit of data on prosperity levels, market potentials, media habits, purchase habits, reading habits, right, cultural issues. We have clustered India into 15 clusters, right? These 15 clusters are now geo-targeted. I'm able to, using the benefit of digital technologies, to actually geo-target my brand to customer clusters and consumer clusters of the choice and relevance to the brand. See, earlier we had a model that, for want of a better phrase, I would call the spray and pray model, which is just take resources, put it into a corner of the country. Typically, it will be determined by the head honcho in the company. So let's say a guy like me will say, yeah, I think it's very good. My mother-in-law's house and around that area is a particularly good area for a premium brand, right? We'll launch it there. We'll put in a whole amount of money there. Some of that money will go waste. Some of the money will actually fructify. And by luck of the draw, we will make a success happen on a brand. Today, looking at the genotype of the kind of brand impact that I want, I'm able to customize and actually menu drive the digital transformation into geographies, clusters, brands, SKUs in order to make the consumer for those geographies attracted to the brand which is of the highest relevance. I'm able to optimize on my marketing resources, which is a big thing. So the bang for the buck, as it were, stretches because of the use of digital technologies. And this, I think, is the powerhouse of the company going forward. The investment of the company would be not just in brand innovations, but in digital innovations. Because ultimately, my consumer is digital. And if I'm not able to attract him or her, and the generation we're talking about is Gen Z. I mean, they know how to operate their iPhone before they know how to say ABC, right? So that generation, I cannot be using archaic tools to be able to target them. So I think this is a huge revolution. It's also the democratization of management. It's not important what Suresh knows. It's important what Suresh and Varun know in order to get the consumer attracted to our brand. So the sum total of our wisdom, which can come from different parts and different perspectives and different parts of the brain, together makes it a more powerful proposition to attract the consumer.
Operational efficiency is a term which I've often enjoyed because I feel that's what digital is really allowed, right? I mean, you spoke about how that's played out, let's say in manufacturing, you're speaking about that, how it's playing out in digital innovation to connect with the consumer. The phrase everyone talks about with this now is how is AI going to disrupt this and make operations more efficient, how we connect with consumers more efficient. What's Nestle doing with the AI space? How are you diving deep into that and really leveraging it for what you do and how you connect with your consumers?
Look, I think Open AI is. There are probably two examples I would like to use for Open AI. Firstly, I strongly believe that Open AI can be a very powerful tool for unlocking value, efficiencies, effectiveness, and speed within the organization. I don't look at it as somberly as to say that it's going to destroy jobs and destroy careers. Okay, maybe in the fringe, a couple of jobs might become redundant because of the use of AI. But I think in the larger context, AI makes it even a more powerful algorithm as far as the future is concerned. So, what are a few of the things that we've done? We, for example, have got a platform called Ask Nestle. Now, Ask Nestle is basically one of India's best nutrition platforms. Why did I choose to have an Ask Nestle? Is because one of the biggest areas of fake news in this country is nutrition. Eat this, don't eat this, starve, don't do this. If you eat too much of this, you'll have a health issue. If you eat too less of this, you'll have a health issue. This is a constant anxiety that we are putting into the people's heads, apart from the other anxieties that they already have in their lives. So we said, as the company, which is a nutrition, health, and wellness company of choice in this world, we are the world's biggest food and beverage company that invests 1.5 to 2 billion Swiss francs each year on research. We said, if we put out our information on nutrition to the public space, I think it can become a very useful contribution for people to access it and to get the information and relevance that they want to from that information. So we put out, as an example of that, a tool called Nina, a Nestle India Nutrition Assistant. So Nina is a bot. Nina can be accessed in order to get recipes on different stages of your life or your child's life. What kind of foods, what kind of recipes, what kind of nutrition, what kind of minerals, what kind of combinations, what could you do with different brands, not just of the company, but it's open. In fact, it is democratic that it can include any of the food products that are available on the market, and you can customize it. So this is the powerful tool that can be used for consumers. Similarly, we have got now customized the Chat GPT equivalent for Nestle called NestGPT. And we are the second market in the world after the United States where we have given access to all our employees on NestGPT. So apart from knowing details about the company's operations, they can also use the different AI algorithms to determine what kind of strategies and what kind of tactics that they would need to deploy for their areas of activity based on the information that is already embedded in the AI. So these are and in addition, we work also on other platforms. We work a lot with Meta.
Yeah.
And a couple of our brand initiatives on Meta really have also been not just experiments for the company, but have also been compelling as far as consumers are concerned. So it's really a very exciting journey, and we progress not in linear progressions, but we go in geometric progressions, and that's what is exciting about this journey.
I was also reading about a tool you use called Midas, and I found that truly interesting in terms of how we're kind of using that across the organization as well. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Look, Midas is again came out of the simple question that one asked, saying, "What do we do with all the data?" Because as has been said evocatively by someone, that data is the new oil, right?
Yeah.
And indeed, with the amount of data that we get from consumers, from retailers, from different parts of the value chain of the company, how do you aggregate all of this into asking three simple questions? What can I do with it? How can I use it to be more efficient and to be faster? And what are the desired outcomes that I can have using this data? So we did this exercise a couple of years back. We put together uh, uh, a group of my own management team, a couple of consultants, created a data lake, created some use case scenarios of how we could use this data in order, and seen in the context of the clusters that I talked about. How can I use this data in order to effectively mine opportunities in my value chain and also with the consumer segments? That created for us different use cases that straddled the commercial part of the organization to begin with, which is marketing and sales, for want of a better term, or businesses and sales. And now it is extended into supply chain. The vision that we have is that if there is a 1 unit or 2 unit change in offtake of the brand on the shelf, I should be able to influence the production plan of a factory. It's almost the princess and the pea story, that 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds and a pea right in below it, and the princess is able to sense it. That is the kind of sensitivity that we are looking at in making Midas happen. It took us some time. I mean, to convince people within the organization at all levels that this is an important project. I'm glad to say that the project paid for itself in year one. Because there is an algorithm that creates what is called a must sell list. So I'm able to, Varun, today go to any outlet on my handheld. It tells the salesman, here are the 6 SKUs that you should be focusing on. Looking at the purchase habits, the offtake habits of that outlet, to give him that suggestion. Using that suggestion, the incremental sales that we got paid for the project. That's the power of digital. We sometimes look at it as almost like a dead weight, right? It's sunk cost. It's not sunk cost. It pays for itself.
Yeah.
So Midas has now evolved into a project that encompasses the commercial aspects of the company, the supply chain aspects of the company. It's getting into the manufacturing aspects of the company, so that we integrate the entire value chain. And ultimately, this becomes the bedrock, and this enables 3 things. One, the delineation and the empowerment of decision making to the level where it matters. Number one. Number two, it leads to fact-based, data-based decision making. Not what does the highest ranking guy sitting on the chair think. I may think that Kit Kat 2 finger is the next thing after sliced bread, but the consumer data may be showing actually it is 4 finger. And somebody can show me the data and say, boss, I think you're a bit wrong. This is not exactly what the data is showing. So data-based decision making. And third one is that I'm able to plan and react in real time. See, earlier there was an elephant walking under my nose and I could not notice it because it just went. And by the time I put the data together and all the Excel spreadsheets together, the event had happened. Today, when the elephant is approaching my nose, I know that an elephant is approaching. When the elephant walks under my nose, I know exactly what has happened. And I'm able to react before the elephant goes and destroys my house. I know what next I should be doing. That's the power of Midas.
It's giving you almost a radar to look at
Exactly.
something is approaching.
Exactly.
And I feel what's also, I feel how this kind of flows with looking at data this way is that I'm sure it makes you look at e-commerce and
Yes.
digital consumer and how they buy so differently. It was super interesting to see how you spoke about how someone in retail can actually use digital for that
Yes.
to enhance the experience, but how you've seen it really evolve, how you look at e-commerce and the entire digital to consumer experience.
Look, I think that's really what started off as Midas. Also spawned our enthusiasm and our capability on e-commerce. E-commerce today is about 6-7% of our business. One of the fastest growing platforms that we've got, with huge digital and consumer engagement. Because, as I told you earlier, the consumer journey is today digital. So we are leveraging different technologies in e-commerce, and it also led to start the direct to consumer, mynestle.com. So My Nestle is fundamentally a D2C endeavor, as it were, curated brands of the company, along with the dream there is I don't desire it to be the revenue engine for the company. It is the experience curator for the consumer. So you go on that. I want to have a nutrition advice. I can get an appointment with a nutritionist of my choice on the particular date and get advice on what I want to. I want to gift something to someone. Diwali is coming on, right? Gifting can be put together there. Exclusive brands of the company can be put on offer there. And I think this has been, it was first piloted in Delhi NCR. And now, hopefully, in the next couple of days, we are launching this in Bangalore as well. So we're looking at this becoming really the kind of the consumer delight on the service capabilities of the company. Because the way I see our company moving, product differentiation is important. Service differentiation is cutting edge. And the faster we realize it, I think the better off we'll be.
I couldn't agree more. I think genuine value for consumer in many cases actually starts even post the purchase, because that's what you're giving with the platform. It's
That's
giving them ways to experience the products in a far richer manner and giving them more layers there. Have you also seen the fact that, as looking at how you work with your marketing, have there been cases like, I know there's been a Cannes line case with Sri Lanka. There've been initiatives that you've done with Meta as well. I'd love you to dig into those.
Look, I think the consumer journey being digital has made three big differences in the way in which we think as marketeers. One is that we are constantly um, reading what the consumer is thinking about our brands and responding about our brands in real time. I think social listening is an integral part of a marketer's job. So I don't sit here and do a once a year exercise saying, let me now think how KitKat or Nescafe is going to be more relevant to the consumer. I'm thinking in real time because I'm listening to the consumer in real time. So that's number one. Number two, it is a digital first strategy. So there was a time, when 10 years ago, let's say, when digital was a tick in the box. What we typically did was we recruited digital agencies. So these were the know-all people who would come and talk to the uninitiated guys, right? Fellows like me were senior enough. When we got flummoxed, we got impressed, right? Saying, wow, he must be talking something really sensible. So please invest in it. And we ticked the box and we invested in it. And we never bothered what return we got because it was a small part. It was 1, 2%, maybe 5% of the total budget. Today, it is digital first. The first questions that my young marketers ask is which platform are these guys on? Right? How can Insta, how can X, how can Facebook, right? How can these platforms be leveraged? Are there other platforms that we need to leverage, and what do we do to customize it? So that's the second big thing that's happening. And third, as a result of this, we are forming partnerships and linkages with organizations to try nascent experiments. I mean, the experiment with Meta, for example, on Munch, right? Which was a virtual reality kind of model that we used. That was experiential for the consumer, unique. What was done with the experiment on Milo in Sri Lanka was of a similar kind, trying to leverage the digital capabilities and the digital connect of the consumer in order to make our brands more relevant, and that won them the Cannes Lion, right? So I think this is a constantly evolving journey. What it also does, I think, at a broader level, is it changes the culture of the company, right? It changes the culture of the company from a top-down culture to a sideways culture, right? Which means that I add value where I can add value. But when my youngsters come and tell me about what they're going to do on X or on Insta, since I'm not on both those channels, right? I take the effort to try and understand what the hell they're talking about, right? So I think it democratizes decision making, it empowers the right levels, and it brings in a certain amount of experimentation. So I'm not a startup company. I'm a pretty old company, and a pretty large company. But using digital methodologies and using the power of digital technologies that we have got as a company makes us into a incubator of ideas as far as digital is concerned. So we keep trying out different things, small experiments, big experiments. We try out things. Some succeed, some don't succeed, but it doesn't matter. In the larger scheme of things, we have learned something out of it. I think that is how the culture of the organization makes it such that a Gen Z who's walking into the door of Nestle House as a management trainee is able to look at the chairman in the eye and say, "Sir, here are the 3 things that I can contribute," which parenthesis you can't, right? And that makes a difference.
And I think, and that's so important, right? Because at the core of it, all the innovation which is generally spoken about is always about what's happening with product, with manufacturing, with marketing. But at the core of it all is the culture and how that drives innovation, and it makes people want to feel like, and also actually believe that they are in the midst of almost cultural
Varun,
shifts.
one of the things in Nestle, which is I think exciting for marketers, is that you get to handle brands that are the heartbeat of your age group. You're 25, you're handling Maggie. You're 27, you're handling Kit Kat. You're in your 20s, you're handling Munch, right? These are all brands that you associate with, your friends associate with, your families, and it's a good badge value for you to have. I take care of Kit Kat. Wow, right? It's a big brand. So I think it also makes for a greater feeling of belongingness. Plus, you bring joy to the lives of people. I mean, I'm not addicting people or I'm not depressing them. Every Kit Kat moment, every Nescafe moment, every Maggie moment, every Munch moment is a pleasurable moment. Yeah. And I think that's the nice part of it, that whenever I walk out and say I work for Nestle, people look at me and say, wow, that's a nice company. And you feel good about it. So I think that's a kind of a virtuous circle. Yeah. That you work for a good set of brands, you do good things, you're contemporary, you're not a fuddy-duddy old school guy, and even a guy like me keeps myself youthful with the environment, because that's what it does to you.
When you're looking at where the entire FMCG space is going, especially with all the disruptions we've spoken about, what do you see as future trends and what you kind of working towards in the years to come?
Look, I think a few things are going to be important in broad terms. Number one is brands are going to be aspirational across India, right? I mean, earlier our brands were seen as pure urban brands. Today, you go to a tier 3, tier 4 town, whether here or in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka is more urban. It's less rural. The same phenomenon. A Kit Kat or a Nescafe or a Maggie is aspired for. Right? I've been traveling extensively the country, going to some of the rural hinterlands. I'm delighted to see that consumers actually come and ask for a Kit Kat. Right? That's a huge difference. A few years back, they didn't even know whether it was an animal or a beast or what it was. Today, they ask for it. So aspirations are rising. Availability must meet aspiration. That's the first part. The second part is that consumers are seeking better nutrition and better quality, post-COVID especially. They want better quality, better safety. Nestle is in pole position as far as quality and safety is concerned. That's why you buy a Nestle brand, because you know there's a seal of guarantee, right? So that's the second part. The third part is that because there are opportunities all around, digital technologies are going to become the most relevant in terms of identification, access, and actualizing opportunities. That's a third piece that's going to happen. The fourth piece that's I'm seeing emerging is that the move from brand and service will move to service and brand, right? And the fifth one would be, as we look forward, the one single most important element between success and failure is going to be the talent of the organization. It's not going to be factories, it's not going to be head offices, it's not going to be the amount of money you throw. It's just going to be sheer power of raw talent that you get. And companies which are on that journey and which make that enabling environment happen. And youngsters are joining companies not necessarily for the money, but more because of what they feel they can contribute, how they feel they can contribute, and whether this company makes relevant sense in society, or is it just a profiteer, right? Or a large company with no soul. So the soul is becoming more important than anything else. So these are refreshing trends that I see happening, and I'm glad to say that I would like Nestle to be part of that journey.
Um, I've been told you have a few Diwali dhamakas, as you said, to also share some Easter eggs, as some other markets might look at it. But we are in India, so I'm going to say Diwali dhamakas to kind of share it. I'd love for you to share them.
Look, I don't know what Diwali dhamakas you want, but as far as I'm concerned, I think this is probably uh, the most exciting period that is coming on for the company. We are at our innovative best. The next couple of months are going to see some very powerful innovations from the organization, and we constantly energize ourselves, not just with what we do for consumers, but what we do for society. And I think, to me, the sustainability initiatives of Nestle are extremely important. So, what the work that we're doing on dairying, the work that we're doing on spice farming, the work that we're doing on Nescafe, on coffee. I mean, just came back from a visit to the coffee estates in Karnataka, where we have something called the Nescafe Plan. And I was really, really inspired by the kind of work that our people are doing. I mean, it's amazing to know that 50% of the Robusta coffee sustainably sourced in this country comes through Nestle. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So every cup of Nescafe that you drink, you're drinking sustainably sourced coffee. That for me is the heart of the organization. And this is something that I would really urge. So in the festive spirit that we are all going to enjoy, let's not forget that this organization has got a much larger heart than the brands that we sell and that the operating results that we achieve. It is the true connect with society. And in the words of a farmer that I met in Coorg, who told me, he said, "Sir, our lives have been transformed by the association with your company." Right? That says a lot for me, and that's the kind of spirit that I would like us. We are a successful company. We'll continue to remain a successful company, but a successful person with a good heart and a clean soul is worth his weight in gold, as compared to someone who's made all that money but who's still arrogant and looks at life as everything for himself.
Thanks so much, Suresh. Firstly, thank you for sharing not just a broad perspective, but really digging into so many aspects of not just innovation and how digital is really changing the landscape, but really how all of that adds up to building the culture that is at Nestle. So thank you so much for sharing all the insights, and thanks for making this a enriching conversation for me, and I'm sure for everybody who's watching and listening in as well.
Thank you, Arun. A real pleasure talking to you. And I sometimes sound like an evangelist for Nestle, but I really believe in what this company does, and I really believe in what my team is doing, and I feel extremely proud of them. That these are, each individual is doing something so seminal for society, that we can all say collectively that we make a difference. And I think the one of the mottos we have in our company is "Be a force for good," and I really see a lot of meaning in those words. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
If you enjoyed today's episode, find out more at nestlevel.vfairs.com and let us know what you think from the survey link in the description. Your feedback matters to us to improve our future content.